According to research, 20% of business will fail within the first 2 years. And in the first 5 years, almost 50%. One of the major reasons for business failure is lack of funding. And one of the major reasons for lack of funding is because of lack of structure. Tonight on the show, we're going to talk about how to legally set up your business so you can avoid foreclosure and even worse, failure. Welcome to another episode of Streams, Secrets to Real Estate and Monetary Success, where you're going to learn secrets, techniques, and strategies and how you can build your business, whether it's in real estate and another business, and also personal development. My guest, I'm Cliff Townsend, your host, and my guest tonight is a friend of mine, Dr. Lydie. I know her as a successful entrepreneur, an attorney. But however, I'm going to allow Dr. Lydie Louis to tell us a little bit about herself and how she got to be so knowledgeable and share her knowledge with us and how to teach us how to structure our business legally so we can avoid bankruptcy and foreclosure. Go ahead, take it away, Dr. Lydie.
Thank you, Cliff. It's my honor to be here. I try very hard to share the knowledge that I've learned over my past. We won't say how long, but let's just say it's a long, long time. And today's topic that you're raising, Cliff, is really, really important. So a little bit about me. I've been a New York State licensed attorney for about 25 years. Whoop, whoop. I am admitted to the United States Supreme Court of America, which is the highest court in America, which means I work with people throughout the US because of that licensing that I have from the United States, that certification. Chief Justice Roberts swore me in, and he took a moment to talk about my father. I did not know that they even knew about my father. So my father was an Episcopalian priest for many, many years. He was also what I would call a community lawyer. He helped small businesses in the community.
Okay.
And when I would come home from school, he would have, every local business on the porch, the dry cleaning guy, the vegetable guy, the cleaning lady was primarily ladies, right? The car shop, down the block, and everyone had legal questions. So I would sit for hours, right, from 3:30 till about 7, listening to him. So talking about learning from the feet of your father, that is what I have done. And I share the way he shared. I'm happy to explain law because it's intentionally complicated. So if you think it's hard, it's because it was designed.
It's because it was designed that way.
It was designed to be hard, right? I mean, think about it. If we all knew law well, oh my God, how powerful we'd be, how rich we would be, how comfortable we would be in our own selves, right? Within our own lives. But we worry a lot. So today, Cliff has asked me to focus on businesses and the legal issues in the businesses that we're often not aware, right? That can prevent us from being successful. And there are a lot of them. And the reason I say there are a lot, if we think about it, often I believe things are spiritual. There's a kinetic energy to everything. And if you think about it, how many successful businesses do you know? Seriously, if we, we know a lot of business owners.
Yeah.
Right? But how many of them are successful? So let me define success.
Yeah.
How many of them are making net, as the Asian folks would say, net, right? How many of them are making or clearing 150,000?
I read somewhere the other day that I don't remember what the number was, but it's a small percentage, and I was really surprised. It's a small percentage of businesses that even break $100,000 a year, much less 150. And I was really surprised at that number to see how small it was. I thought it like everybody in business was doing over 100,000, and it's not here now.
Most businesses net, meaning after taxes, expenses, blah, 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 probably about 35, 40,000, which is why credit card applications say, do you have an income of at least 35, 40,000?
Oh, okay.
Right? Because they know, they know the numbers, right? So when you look at it that way, we are literally running up a hill. If you have a small business or you want to start a small business and you want it to succeed, the odds are against you. Number one odd that's against you is financing. Where are you going to get the money from? right? And how can you
Right.
repay that money?
Don't start
Right?
talking about that yet because we're going to get into it.
Okay, we're gonna get into it. Okay. So that I did my introduction.
Okay. All right. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is structuring, right? That have to structure the business, just the basic foundation of it, right? And so we know there's S corps and LLCs, right? And so which one? What are they? What's the difference? And
Okay.
which one should the average person who's looking to start a business choose?
Okay. Great question. So there's several of them, and more are being created as we talk because there's a blending sometimes, right, of them. The first one that everyone knows is a corporation, and that's a
Yeah.
full-blown, you've got a board, you got teams of people, you're paying the highest level of tax as a corporation, and hopefully what you're producing and the income stream that you're creating can cover all of that. I do not recommend that small businesses be right? Because it is heavily regulated. It is very expensive to maintain. Most people don't know really where would you learn it from? I mean, I learned
Yeah,
it
right.
from
Sure.
my father, but where else would you go to learn this from? So that is not although the big and the beauty is even big corporations with a lot of money are becoming my favorite LLCs, limited liability companies. Google is an LLC. And you're like, what? Google? LLC. Amazon, LLC. And why is that? It creates a lot of flexibility.
Okay.
Right? And as a business owner, you want flexibility to make certain decisions, to do certain things without always going to the board for approval, going to the board for approval. And the tax rate for corporations are much higher, right, than the LLC. So if we talk about decreasing your taxes to the most legal level possible, it's hard to do that in a corporation because there's set requirements, right, that you have to pay for, that pulls money away from you, right, if you're not making a consistent revenue stream that hurts you financially. So becoming is great. The S corp is fantastic. It originally began, the S meant self-employed. And you're probably thinking, great, that's what I am. I am self-employed. Nah, nah, nah.
No.
Self-employed back then meant really three professions. These were the professions where people were licensed to provide a service to the public. Doctors,
Okay.
lawyers, CPAs. If you weren't one of those, you had a license, a degree, and you took an exam, and the state said you're good to go, you're good to go. You could not be an S corp. That has changed over the years, right? And more people do not need to fall into those three categories to have an S corp. But what is an S corp really? It's not even a legal structure. It's a IRS tax designation. Right? And people are like, what are you talking about? Well, you can be an S corp as a corporation. You can be an S corp as an LLC.
Oh, so I could form my LLC into an S corp also, LLC
Yes.
/ S corp.
Right, because remember, you're dealing with two things as a business structure. You first have to deal with the state, whatever state you're in, Florida, New York, Tennessee. The state, you have to file there to become an LLC, become a corporation, become a partnership, blah, blah, blah. Right? You have to start there. Then the IRS, you have to file with them to say, hi, I exist in the lovely state of Tennessee. And I know you guys want some money from me. So let me tell you I'm here, because if I don't tell you, you're really going to be mad, right? You're going to come after me. So the S corp is really a designation from the IRS, not from the state that you created your company in. And it says the same thing. You are self-employed. Therefore, you have a different tax structure because you're not a big corporation, paying taxes. You're a selfie, right? You're a selfie, paying taxes. So that's what the S corp, S for self. There's some other designations, foundations, nonprofits, and you can, and I want people to understand the power of nonprofits. We oftentimes don't realize it. So think of any sort of community-based organization that helps the people, right? So Girls Inc. or something like that. They're nonprofits. They make a ton of money. So one,
when people think like for myself, when I think about nonprofits, I mean, I know there are nonprofits that make money, but most of the nonprofits that I know, seem like they're always asking, and they'll always saying like, "Listen, contribute to this because we're a nonprofit, so help us." So in my mind, I'm like, okay, they don't really make a lot of money, but that's not the case, right?
No, I mean, a nonprofit has a cause. That's why they're asking. They have a cause that they need to fund that's dear to their heart. Giving shoes to children in developing countries, sending teachers abroad to teach them. It could be anything that touches your heart.
Yeah.
Right. The thing about foundations, nonprofits, is that they're tax exempt. Again, you go to the IRS for that, not your state. So it's always two levels. The state creates the entity, the nonprofit, the foundation, what have you. Then you go to the IRS and you say, hey, we're doing this good stuff for the community and the world. Please don't tax us. So you fill out the application for the 501c3, and there's different types of subletters, C, D, E, depending on what exactly you're doing. And you're basically saying, because we're doing good community work, and our focus is not to make money, but to provide, right, a sense of well-being for other people, we shouldn't be taxed under the IRS code. And they'll say, great, so tell us about your nonprofit. And this is where most people that don't get approved, right, to become a 501c3 primarily,
and
when they say
501c3 is nonprofit, yes?
Nonprofit. It could also, you can also be a foundation,
okay,
right? And there's several other types of like public focused entities that are not taxed. If you think about our election that's coming up, they create these PACs, these political action groups that are providing information to the community about the candidate, that are holding, talks, right? Those aren't taxed, right? Those entities.
Okay.
So it's whatever entity that you're forming that's public focused, to give knowledge, to give products, to give services, right? The government says we won't tax you because you're doing something we, the government, would do, right? By providing those services. So I encourage everyone to have both a for-profit and a nonprofit. And you're probably thinking, why is that? Well, a couple of reasons, actually. One, a lot of us do want to do some good, right? We do want to go and train children in other countries. Yeah. We do want to provide our whatever our knowledge is to other people. We do want to have a clothing drive, a food drive, you name it. Whenever it's focused towards the public to do some good, whatever that work that's in your heart to do, create a nonprofit around that, because what it does, you now have a tax deductible thing that you're doing for the world. And how does that work with your for-profit? Well, because you're loaning your time to the nonprofit, right? You're traveling for the nonprofit. All of those are deductions that your for-profit can take as part of its outreach, right, to the community. So most people don't realize that there's the interplay, right, that works very well. Why do the wealthy folks give away so much money? They're good-hearted people, but there's also a huge deduction that they're going to be taking.
Let me ask you this, right? So you said you feel like the best structure would be an LLC, but you can also create your whatever you have, you can turn it into an S corp also.
Correct.
And once somebody, so I know you said earlier about funding, right? And we talked about business not making because of funding, and which we'll touch into a little bit later. What else is needed? So you have your LLC, you set it up. I know for me personally, one of the things that I run into with a lot of people is that they come to me even with doing mortgages, right? I can help people get a mortgage without all of the requirements, just with a bank statement and a profit and loss, one or the other or both. Right. However, I run into people who have businesses and they don't even have a bank statement. I'm like, where are we going to go with that? You know what I'm saying? You can't use the mattress money. Or can you? But for profit and loss, you can actually use it. But how important is a bank statement? I mean, having a bank account, I should say.
Okay. So we business owners should have at least 3 accounts.
3?
One is your personal account. 3. At least 3. Yeah. One is your personal account. That's your, ebb and flow of your banking, blah, blah, blah. One for your business should have a business account in the business's name. They're going to want you to have your state, like that you're registered in your state or whatever state you choose to. I tell people this all the time. Where you live does not need to be where your business exists, right? There are 9 states in the US that does not have taxes, right? And you can put your business in any of those 9 states, whereas your personal self, your residence could be, a state that does tax, right, your income.
Okay.
So these are the strategies, which is totally okay with the government,
Okay.
by the way, right? And we have to know these things so we could consider whether it's a good thing for us or not. So when it comes to bank, your personal, your business account with your EIN number from the federal government, not just your state license number,
Okay.
right? They can't open it if you don't have your EIN. That's the first thing. And they're going to want to look it up. If you say, oh, my EIN is 5679271, they're going to want to look it up to make sure it's really you. And your EIN has to match the name of your company, right? There are a lot of folks that change the name of the company but never reported to the feds that they changed the company.
So before you get all of this, then you have to register the name.
Yeah, right. So before you even go to bank, you've got to register the name with the state that you want the business to be in. It does not need to be the state that you live in. It could be one of the 9 states that don't have business taxes. And off the top of my head, I can think of 3, right? Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, Texas, certain in Washington State. Delaware taxes you. I don't know where people get this thing from. Cliff, you're not the only one. People tell me this all the time. Oh, there's no tax in Delaware. I said, really? They're not part of the 9 that's listed. How did that? And well,
I don't know. I hear what everybody talks about setting up the structure in Delaware because of taxes. I don't know.
I listen. Delaware is good for one, is not good for all, right? It's not one size fits all. Delaware has a wealthy knowledge of lawyers and judges that focus on business, but these are big businesses.
Okay.
Now, if your business is big, go right ahead down to Delaware, right?
Okay.
If your business is really you and maybe a team of a few virtual folks, go to a state that is business friendly to small businesses. It's usually one that doesn't have taxes. You can run a search on Google. What states don't have taxes? There's 9 of them. Okay. Right. Delaware is expensive to operate out of. You got to hire a company that's very, I won't say very, but at least a couple of $100s a year just to send you paper. Okay. Just to send you paperwork. So,
like you say, it's for big business. So
it's big business, and small businesses, we need every coin. I tell people, I save a coin like nobody's business, right? Because I don't know when I'm going to need that coin.
Yeah. And one of the things I talk about, the reason I bring up the fact about the banking is because something you brought up earlier is, setting up your corporation, whichever one it is, your bank account, registered name, bank account, EIN, is because that helps you structure yourself to get funding down the road, right?
Correct.
So different types of funding. Can you talk a little bit about, what kind of funding and how this will help, once you structure your business the correct way? What kind of funding could a business get?
Great question. And I first want to lead with that there's the difference between your personal credit, your social security number, and your business credit. 2 totally different things, totally different systems. You can have the worst personal credit and can still get business credit, right? And the business credit runs through Dun & Bradstreet. It's a company that puts together, basically, it's like a credit report on your business. And most people in our community, I'm just going to say that in particular, but other people too, don't have a hoot about what is business credit.
They don't have a Dun & Bradstreet and business credit, and also I believe Equifax and Experian also do business credit also. I believe
They're very separate.
Yeah.
That's your personal one will run on your social security number.
Yeah.
Your business credit will run on, say it with me, everybody, your EIN number. Right? That's the number that's attached to your business. And they don't look at, the personal credit. They look at the business credit. How are you in business? So I tell everyone, get your Dun & Bradstreet done, right? Get your company listed. And that way you can begin to build the business credit, which can be, I won't say it's easy. Let's just say it's not hard to do that.
Yeah.
And now you have a great business credit number that you can get loans from. Your business can buy the property, right? And you know this, Cliff, certain percentage of your house can be, because people are running their businesses out of their house, is a great, not only deduction, but the business credit can help you get the new computers, get the giant video.
Buy the new vehicle for the
Buy the new vehicle. I'm glad you brought that up, because people ask me this question all the time about the vehicles. What's the rule about deducting your vehicle if you're using it in business? So the rule is that your vehicle is primarily, that means more than 51, hopefully it's like 60 or 70% used for business. And it has to have, every company has their logo, phone number, blah, 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 all over the place. That must be on your vehicle somewhere. Your vehicle is your main sort of advertisement, right? About your business. So people lose that deduction for the car, the mileage, repairs, and all that, because their car is not detailed as a business car.
A business vehicle, yeah.
A business vehicle, yeah.
Okay. What other kind of funding can, outside of structuring this so you can go to a bank and get money or get funding, what other kind of funding can small businesses, once they're structured correctly, once they've registered their name, their LLC, bank account, EIN, what other kind of funding can small business get once it's structured correctly?
So there's state funding for startups or small businesses in general. There's some federal funding for startups and, businesses in general. There's some foundations, some big nonprofits, right, that will give funding to businesses that are properly structured to receive those types of grants. There's corporate funding, right? These big baller companies, they all have a mandate to give out to the community that buys their. So if you think of any major company, right? They all have a corporate giving department. That's literally what it's called, or something close to it, right? You can look it up on their website, and they'll give you the full criteria of who do they likely provide corporate funds for. And I'm sure there's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people out there that could qualify, because you're what we call a tangential business, that what you're doing for the community is also something that the big businesses are doing as well, but you're already on the ground, right? You know how to execute it. Why? They're not going to bother coming and bringing all their people. They'll fund you. Tell them you got to put on everything, sponsored by
big business.
Right? Sponsored by big business. But, and I tell folks, I get sponsored a fair bit by the hotel industry, right? Think of a major hotel. They're doing events, right? They oftentimes walk by and listen to what you're saying, how people are doing, and then they'll reach out and say, "Oh, we noticed your event. There were 100 people, and that they seemed very well engaged and blah blah blah. So tell us more about what you do. Maybe we can do something together." Their sponsorship is usually free rooms, free food, which is a great savings if you do anything, right? And sometimes they'll give you, a little something, right? They might give you vouchers, right, and stuff, little bags, little stuff. The other thing is airlines sponsor as well. Delta's a great sponsor. Free tickets. Right?
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And again, they want to know that you're aligned.
So if you're looking to do a retreat, maybe you can get free tickets for your guests to come to the retreat through something
Either
like
free,
Health of Your Life?
either free or drastically reduce, right, prices.
Yeah.
What they're looking for is that you're going to promote them, that they did this for you. They're looking for what you're doing, either with your business or this event, is in alignment with some of the stuff that they do, right, for
Okay.
their corporate giving. Back to
Yeah.
corporate giving, right? That there's an alignment, and they'd love to, have Cliff, sponsor Cliff, because what Cliff is doing is in alignment with what they do when they go wherever Cliff is going anyway. So it's free ticket, drastically discount tickets, going into the lounges, right? Those corporate lounges are really nice.
Yeah, really
Right?
nice. Really nice food.
And
And
it's
free.
endless. I can eat all those meatballs all by myself. So that's the other aspect of it, is that the corporate departments or corporate entities want to align themselves with small businesses that are doing very, very similar things that they're doing. Therefore, they don't have to do it. They can
Yeah.
just hold you up. Hey, Cliff is,
Yeah.
doing this in Cabo, and we go to Cabo. Right? We're their airline sponsor,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
The
So,
preferred
and that's
airline. Yes.
and that's something everyone can do, right? Every small business can do that. Do a little research, see what companies that are local to you, right, are doing very similar things to what you're doing, and approach them that, hey, I do this on a very on the ground level, right? We do small, we do medium, but we reach the people that you're trying to engage. We're already with them. We support them, and we would like you to support us as we continue to build this out. They're not going to say no, because they get what? A tax write-off.
Yeah. Yeah. But you just have something have to be in alignment with what they're doing.
It's got to be. So do a little research on their website. Who else are they giving to, and what are those people doing? I tell everyone, once you have your 501c3, go to Costco and go buy some stuff, right? Because Costco honors, once you have your 501c3 certificate from the feds, they'll give you everything they have in the store. They'll give you food. They'll give you alcohol. Maybe I shouldn't say that on camera.
Yeah.
Right? Right? They'll give you clothing. They'll give you paper products. Because you're in the community, you have your membership with them for X number of years. Costco gives a lot. Same thing with Sam's Club, Walgreens, all of them, right? You just need to approach them, but your business has to be set up. I think where most people, I won't say convert, don't get the results that they want when they approach, is because they haven't really built out their platform, right?
Yeah.
They haven't done an event. There's nothing in the papers about them. There's nothing you can show them tangibly. Hey, this is what I put on. This is what I do. The veterans are very supportive, right? If you're doing work with veterans, people love giving money for veterans. And that could be, hey, every veteran should have a business. Every veteran should own, property that they rent out, Airbnb, whatever you want to do it. So there's different avenues, right, that will get you what you really want if you're willing to connect with folks and work alongside folks to get that done for you.
I'm glad you brought up the fact that, getting yourself out there, as far as these big businesses looking, they're not structured and they're not out there, and big business looking and say, well, you haven't done nothing. We don't,
Right.
You haven't been out there. We look you up. There's nothing on Google. So that brings me to my next point is, so business set up their structure, the LLC, they have their bank account, they registered their name, they have their EIN, they've gotten funded, whether it's through family or friends or grants or business, because now they're structured right. They have a product, they have a service, a great idea that they want to put out there to the world. So the next thing is, which every business needs, is marketing, to be able to get their products out there to money and to get it out to people. And also, like you said, to put their name out there. So when they go to these big companies and the organizations, they can say, okay, we see you, we see what you're doing.
Right.
What would you recommend for businesses to, once they've structured, to now start making money, basically marketing?
Right. So I'm going to say this and people are going to be like, what is Dr. Lily talking about? So marketing is law.
Marketing,
and everyone's like,
law?
It's law.
Okay.
Right. And they're like, what? Marketing law? Oh, we hate this law thing. I'm like, but it's everywhere. It's So get comfortable with it, wiggle into it, and let's take
Okay.
this ride, right? So marketing law, right? Rules about how you market, who you market to, what does your marketing say? You can't over promise things to people. That is all law. Return policies, what they call the cool off period. Well, I signed the contract. How long do I have to cancel? Most people don't even have that on their contracts. You lose immediately.
Yeah.
Right? You lose because you have to have these things in your contracts. The law requires at least 3 business days for someone to cancel something. You need to put that in your contract, on the receipt, all of that stuff. So a lot of marketing is law. And what you promise folks that you can do to them, do for them. Well, do to them, I take that to a whole different level, but do for them has got to be accurate. Right? If you come to my event and you're going to have your business plan done at the end of the event and blah blah blah. Okay, you go to the event, you pay whatever $1,000, $9.99 seems to be the big number now that people are charging, and you go to the event and you rah rah rah. Where's your business plan at the end of it? The business plan has to be complete. That was the promise. Most people have a page. A business plan is not one page, right? Okay, they got 2 business plans, right? There's different sections. You can go on. I'm one of the lawyers on Rocket Lawyer for Business. They found me. I'm like, I don't have time for this, and they're like, we need you to give the truth in a kind way. I'm like, I don't know. But I said I would try it. Right? I would try. So I'm under the business, category, trust and estates, how do you plan for your retirement? And when you're no longer here and your kids and grandkids are still around, what have you done? And the truth of it is, the sad truth is, when it comes to people of color, it doesn't matter which flavor of the rainbow color, we don't leave much, right, for our children or our grandchildren. Not because we're bad people, right? It's nothing to do with that. Well, there might be some bad ones, but it's really because we didn't have much to give them.
We didn't have much, yeah.
Right? We didn't make that much ourselves. So there's not much to give. And when I reflect on that, right, is like, how do we change that? Yeah. But, it's sad for me because of my history with my dad, and he died when I was 9 and all of that. And he did something amazing for me that we'll talk about another time. But the key concept I want people to remember is that our children build upon what we have done.
Or at least that is how it's supposed to be for the most part.
Thank you, Cliff. That's the way it's supposed to be. And there are certain communities, you can look around you and figure out who they are, where they are inheriting businesses, intergenerational businesses, right? They're inheriting intergenerational houses that they've always have a place to live. The mortgage is paid, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
they even, and we have to begin as a collective people that we can do better, right, for our children and our grandchildren.
But if we narrow it down, if we bring it down, right, to not such a high level as the law, as marketing is the law, right? I definitely understand where you're going with that. However, when it comes to just the regular kind of marketing, right, like Google,
right,
Facebook, whatever it is, right? What would you suggest? What do you suggest?
I would suggest first to lock your content down, because Americans love to copy other people's stuff and take credit for it.
Lock your content down as in how?
As in a copyright, getting a copyright.
Okay.
Stuff that you have.
When I used to be in the music business, right, I used to hear this thing about a poor man's copyright. We'll just put it in an envelope, seal it, and mail it to myself. And that's a poor man's copyright. Is that correct?
They are still a poor man if they do it that way. The reason, right? So no, you can't do it that way. And the reason behind that, by the way, I had to share this with someone one time. They're like, well, why did they tell us to do that if it doesn't really work? I said, well, it kind of maybe works this way. You mail it to yourself with whatever the song is, the poem, whatever you did, right? The new formula for Krispy Kreme or something.
Yeah.
Right? You mail it to yourself. You can never open that envelope.
Yeah.
One.
Until.
Right. You never open it.
Yeah.
Number two is that the reason it kind of sort of works is because when you mail something through the United States Post Office, that is a federal entity, right?
Okay.
So you're sending it to a federal entity, then it's coming back to you. So you've gone through the federal process, right,
Okay.
of sending your stuff out there. Well, here's the problem with all of that. One, if you open that envelope, it's busted, right? Because you opened the envelope, right? So
Yeah.
you can never open the envelope. Two, nobody at the post office knows what the heck is in the envelope, right? They don't know. Is it a song? Is it a love letter? Is it the next recipe for Krispy Kreme? So they've done nothing but, pass your, envelope on, on the
Yeah.
track over to
Yeah.
you. So there's no knowledge. And I think this is the part we often forget. We need to capture the knowledge. Intellectual property is about capturing the knowledge that you created yourself, right? Because the rule is that you created it by yourself or in conjunction with someone, right? You have to tell the government what it is, because this is not like a hide and
Okay.
seek. What you
Okay.
got?
So
What you got?
that's the part where it may not work because nobody knows what it is
Nobody knows
except
what it
you,
is.
and you can never open it. So who knows what's in there?
Who knows what's in there, right? And the government needs to maintain, the federal government needs, not the state. Oftentimes people say, oh, you can get a state copyright. Well, that's only good for that state. The minute you go into
Okay.
another state, you don't even have that as a semblance. So the government also needs to know what's in there, because they've got to categorize it. Is this a poem? Is this a song? Does someone else have this poem already and they've already registered with us and you just didn't know it? Does someone else has the formula to make better chocolate chip cookies, right? Their computer is scanning and comparing it to everything that they have archived to find similarities, right? And if they find enough similarities with what you created and what's already on file, no copyright for you. Right?
Okay.
So I tell folks, yeah, that envelope thing probably worked before we had a United States Post Office. I mean, but you've got to file it. And I tell folks
Yeah.
you could do it yourself, right? I don't even teach a class on it, because if you go to copyright.gov, they got better classes that I could ever create. It's all free, right? And
Okay.
it tells you step by step how to do your copyright. Follow the steps. I tell everyone, follow the steps, and they get it. They get an email
What
saying,
can you copyright?
you
Can
can
I
copy.
copy, like for example, your name, The Law of Money? Can you copyright that?
It's already copyrighted, and it's in the process of getting trademarked.
Did
Yeah,
you copyright it?
yeah.
Okay, so you can copyright whatever
Watching
you
the
do then.
little videos. So you copyright anything that is a creative idea. It used to be in the United States before 10 years ago that it would be the first person to create would get the copyright. So if you had an idea and I had an idea, it's the same idea. We came up with it while we were doing, this training today. And if you went and said, I know Dr. Lydie's going to follow this stuff. So Coach's like, I'm going to do it right now. And sure enough, you got on the computer as soon as we were done and you put it in there because you were first, right? You would say, yeah, I got it. 10 years ago, they'd say, no, you don't have it because we got Dr. Lydie's a day later and it's almost the identical thing. So we assume you guys co-wrote it. So no copyright for you, Cliff. The law changed, right? And same thing, we're together, you run to the computer as soon as we get off, you send it on, right? You send it off. The next day I get up, I have my coffee. I'm like, oh, let me copyright, the interview that we did. It'll go, the computer will take it in. Then I'll get a letter 15 to 20 days later saying, we're so sorry, but Cliff Townsend has already copyrighted, right? So we went from a first to create
Okay.
to a first to file.
Got it.
And I tell people this, file.
So creative ideas.
Creative ideas. Anything that's a creative idea. A song, a poem, the particular way you're a fashion designer, that you cut your patterns, right? The way you do your hair, whatever way that you do something that you came up with on your own without looking at anything. You might have looked at something to be inspired, right?
Yeah.
To create something, that's okay. But you can't look at something and say, hey, I like that butterfly. I'm gonna make another butterfly with blue colors. That's
Yeah.
not creative, right? And so it's creative. It used to be original, right? It used to be something that was original that nobody else had. And then science showed us that on any given time on the planet, there's at least 7 to 10 people that are having the exact same idea you did almost at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Right? Isn't it crazy? I
Well,
love it, right?
it's the first one to file. Gonna go to file.
File, baby. Right. So as soon as you have an idea, I mean, and the copyright office is $100. It's like $90.
Okay.
Right. That's the best $90. And the copyright lasts for your entire lifetime until you go see the Jesus upstairs. Right. And it lasts 75 years after you died. So that one filing for $100 lasts your whole lifetime and 75 years after you're gone. Don't miss that deadline. Tell your children and grandchildren, go get that copyrighted. Because if you don't, it becomes part of the public domain.
Yeah, part of the public domain. And that's why there's certain things that we can get and copyright, and just take them books and things that's been written because they're, so.
The copyright expired. No one in the family.
Copyright is expired. Yes, exactly. That's why.
And you can re-up it forever, right? Like Getty, some of the Getty pictures were from the 1800s that people are using. Copyrighted, right? They just put it on the computer, copyrighted, and corporations last forever, right? Unlike natural people, we die, I don't know, somewhere in our 80s, 90s, if we're lucky and blessed. But corporations live forever.
Okay.
So you just need, so if your company holds the copyright, right, rather than you personally, your company, Cliff Townsend Incorporated Enterprise owns the copyright to his videos, to the way he does his marketing, that lives forever because the corporation never dies unless you fail to pay taxes.
Then Uncle Sam takes it away and
right.
Let me ask you, Dr. Lydie, it's been great having you. Other than these things, right, that we talked about, what can you leave us with as far as what else small business owners, need to do to make sure they're structured correctly, and so they can not be one of the statistics as going in, failing or going into bankruptcy and not being able to get funding, which leads to failure and bankruptcy.
Right. So there's 3 things I tell folks, right? One is you need a community of other like-minded business people that are supportive, and you will also be supportive of them. You need that community. We cannot do it alone, right? To build a successful business, right? Cliff and I have known each other for years, right? People that think that they can build this on their own, you are lying to thyself. And I know I hear it all the time, but I can't trust anybody, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I never said trust them. I just said build a community. Right? You can look up to see what they're doing. But because when you do it by yourself, you delay your success.
Yeah.
Right? It becomes very frustrating for you. And as humans, when we get frustrated, we give up. Oh, I tried, I couldn't do it. It was too hard. Building a business needs a community, right? Of good people. And when there's bad people, you walk away from them. I don't stick around bad people, right? I may not know they're bad. I assume everyone is good until you've given me 2 reasons. One or dos, right? I don't even go to 3. I'm like, I'll be right back. And I'll pick up my stuff. I'll walk away. You will never see me. Right? So 1, have a community of good people. And that doesn't necessarily mean family.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's be honest. Right. Number 2, I would say in terms of what we need the legal knowledge. It doesn't matter what you're building. Law is wrapped around that business like, peanut butter on a jelly sandwich. Right? You cannot separate it as much as you try to. So why try? Surround yourself with good legal knowledge. You can get it on videos. You can get it in a book. You can get it on Audible. I don't care. But you need people that really know the law of business to share with you what to do and what not to do, when to do it, how to do it, why to do it, right?
Yeah.
It's not a law is not something that just comes to you, right? That's why they call it the practice of law. You got to
Okay.
practice,
You gotta
fail,
practice
fall on your face, right? Go, why me?
it.
Get up, do it again, practice, fail. And then finally, well, let me get some people that know more than me to,
Yeah,
to
right.
help me out, right? To help me out here. And then you slowly begin to get confidence because you're repeating the pattern of success that other people are helping you. Remember what my dad did? The front porch of the yard, everyone in the community, everyone, like 12, 13 people, that's 13 small businesses on the porch
Yeah.
learning from each other. Right? I didn't know that back then. I sat down when I came from school because I just like listening to my dad, right? But they're learning from each other. The dry cleaning guy has a problem that no one's picked up the dry cleaning. Can he keep the clothes? How long is that? Blah, blah, blah. Somebody wants to buy the clothes that he just, it's all
Yeah.
this.
Okay. Yeah.
So we got community knowledge, get knowledge. We fail for lack of knowledge, right? And I'm not saying you need to go to business school or law school, but go find people that are good people and say, hey, I want to work with you. And sometimes those people may not be the right people for you. You have to it has to resonate.
Yeah.
Go to talk to them, feel them out. How do you feel in talking to them? Because not everybody will have your best interests at heart. They just want your money. And I'm very clear about this with folks, right? If you don't feel right with that person, do my favorite line, take up your stuff and say, I'll be right back. And you walk out that door.
I'll be right back.
I'll be right back. Right? Right? They will never see you again. They will call you, delete, block, blah, blah. But you have to find the right people to travel this path of business success with you. The third thing I would say is that be willing to pay for the things that you don't know. I know a lot of people's like, well, I can Google that. Really?
Well,
Really?
you
Go ahead,
you
Cliff.
can
Go ahead,
you can
Cliff.
Google information, right? But it doesn't equate to knowledge and being able to do something. You can Google something, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go out and do it. So anyway, so
And,
you said willing to pay for
and
information. You mean, are you talking about coaching and mentoring?
yeah, I think as a small business, even if you've been in existence for 3 or 4 years, there's a ton of stuff that you still don't know because who would have taught it to you,
Yeah,
right? How would you have learned it?
trial and
And
error.
and that's painful, and you lose money, and you
Yeah, and
lose
time.
time, and you also lose confidence.
Yeah.
The number one search word in the world, according to Mr. Google, is confidence. How can I get more confidence?
How can I?
Number one search,
You went low for a little bit. How can I get more what?
confidence,
How can I get more confidence? Okay.
right? And people think confidence, fill in the blank. Confidence for you is, getting training. Confidence for you is having a coach. Confidence for you is being able to park right in front of the store. Right? It varies. But the number one, so that tells me when I get these statistics, I love statistics. I love math. I was a physics major in college. The only woman of color at Columbia University back in the day that was a physics major. I was like, what? Nobody else is in here doing it? I'm like, how can I be the only one? I love numbers because numbers tell a story. And that's the way I want all business people to understand. Numbers tell a story,
Yeah.
right? And for small businesses, having confidence, not just on what you can create and give, right, to the world. I don't doubt that you're brilliant in what you're doing. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it, right? Who gets up and says, I want to be a small business, right? Unless you really have a calling for it. But the key is, how does the knowledge come, right? How does the implementation of that knowledge come? Business is not something that you can do by trial and error. Cliff, I think you were saying earlier that the stats from the feds with regard to number of the businesses that fail was about how much? How much did you? Was
I
the
think they said
percentage?
20% in the first 2 years and almost 50% in the first 5 years. And when you go longer, the numbers get higher, like 65, 70%.
Okay. So there's a report that came out recently, probably very recently, that says as of right now, as you and I are sitting here having this discussion right now, the prediction for a small business, first time small business owner going into business is an 80% failure rate.
80% failure rate.
80.
Okay.
And they fail because of some of the stuff that you talked about today.
Yeah.
Right? Financing, structure, taxes, right? Where do you go to get mentored so you don't make these mistakes that cause your failure? How do you attract customers? Marketing, right? How do you keep those customers? Because you can attract them, but if they don't like how you do it, bye, buddy. And they probably won't pay the bill either. So now you've got a double whammy. So we're losing. The US is losing its small businesses. Small businesses used to be the majority of America. Now it's a smaller. When it comes to minority-owned businesses, it's even smaller than that, right? So we've got to do something differently. And the something differently is not just saying I want to start a business, but doing it with support, doing it the right way, being able to ask questions and get answers, locking arms with good people. I've met a ton of good people, a ton. I've also met a ton of loco, crazy mofos, as I call them, right? That are just there to take your money and you don't even know it.
You know,
right?
I was on this yesterday morning. I was listening to something. I don't remember the exact words, but you talking about, asking questions, right? I heard something. It was a quote that said something like, I think it was from, anyway, the person said, you ask questions not because you're weak, but because you want to stay strong, because you want to continue to stay strong.
Right.
Right. So you ask questions not because you're weak, but because you want to continue to be strong. So you ask questions, so things you don't know, you want to get knowledge.
That's
so,
right. And there's no shame in asking a question. I'll be the first one to be asking questions, right? That might be okay, Dr. Lily. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm known for, well, what exactly does that mean? What does that mean?
And it's not to frustrate the speaker or the trainer or what have you.
Yeah, I just want to know. If I don't know, it doesn't make any sense me leaving the room of the conversation and asking questions when I could just ask the person that was giving information.
Makes sense to me. So, and it's called clarity. We need clarity, right? It's not easy. We say words and we're going to do this, but how do you do it? When do you do it? What do you do? Right? No one is, I like recipe books. I'm like, oh, that's how you make a cake? I did not know that. I need 2 cups of water, half a cup of sugar. I love recipe books. So we need a recipe book. I love cooking. Right? I also like eating. So I have a recipe. I love recipe books. I'm like, we should have a recipe book for business. What to do, when to do it, how to do it, why to do it, who to do it with.
You know what? Dr. Lydie, I think I'm going to file that.
You're going to file it tonight.
As soon as this is over, I'm going to come to you. I'm going to, what is it? File.gov.
That's right.
I'm going to file that recipe book for business. How, why, when, who, what, all of those things, right? Hey, Dr. Lee, it's been a pleasure having you. Listen, how can people listen? I'm definitely going to have you back to talk about some of the things, how to use tax codes to create wealth, all the things that you talk about on your own show. And listen, you talk about building a community. I've known you for years. Like you said, I'm glad that you're part of my community and you're somebody I can reach out to, and get knowledge from you. So how can others do the same? How can people reach you? How can they reach you on your show on YouTube? Because I know you have a show on YouTube that is growing. So how can people reach you?
So call the office, right? Can I give my office number? I always ask permission before I say, hey.
Sure. It's like I thought, okay, call the office number. Do I have the office number?
No, you got my celly. That's even better. So people call my office. It's 212-242-0020. 212-242-0020. You will get a recording. I don't pick up the phony, right? And I'm like, I'm not paying someone to pick up the phone. There's something called voicemail, right? So what I want you to do is say that you saw me on Cliff's show. You need help with fill in the blank. and let me know when is a good time to either call you, leave a phone number, and an email. If you guys want an email for me, you can email me at hello at drlydie.com. And that's hello, H-E-L-O, wait, H-E-L-L-O, I forgot the O, at, at DR for Dr. Lydie, spelled a little differently, L-Y-D as in David, IE.com. And tell me what you need. You know, I tell folks, my dad used to say that. What do you need? What do you need help with?
And
Right? There's no shame.
Your YouTube channel?
The Laws of Money with Dr. Lydie.
The Law of Money with Dr. Lily.
The laws with an S, because there's more than one law, I tell folks.
Oh, the laws.
Right?
Okay.
The laws of money. There's not one law. It's not like the one ring to bind them all.
Okay.
Because there's a ton of laws.
The Laws of Money on YouTube. The Laws of Money with Dr. Lily.
Yeah. And I tell folks there's over 1,200 legal laws that apply to business. 1,200, over 1,200. That's more than 1,200 laws that apply to your business. And we barely know 3.
Yeah, right. Dr. Lily, it's been a pleasure having you. And I'm looking forward to having you back.
Thank you. Look forward to helping any way I can, my brother. Anytime.